Welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Johnson. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, and I've been teaching group fitness classes in person for the last 2 years. In today's video, I'll be going over chapter 1 of the book Forever Strong. If you did not get a chance to see my video about the introduction part of the book, I would recommend going back and watching that before this one. The link will be in the bottom of the video in the description section. If you are returning and you've already seen that video, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate your support here. Everyone who watches my videos is like a dream come true. I feel like I can connect with so many more people on the digital platform here on YouTube as opposed to my in-person classes, which are also great, but I'm trying to reach more people here. So welcome, let's get started. In chapter 1, Dr. Lyon starts out by describing the experience of one of her clients that she treated. She was a regular middle-aged woman, a little over 300 pounds, and she had been suffering from arthritis and pain in her joints for quite a long time. They started by just making some basic changes, 10 minutes of walking per day, prioritizing eating more protein first thing in the morning and then in the evening before bed, and just strength training 2 times a week. Nothing crazy, not being in the gym every day, but trying to be consistent over an entire year. And what she saw was a complete decrease in pain, improvement in her blood markers of glucose and triglycerides. Some key points that I want to point out from this case study is that 2 to 3 days is a much smaller commitment than anyone thinks that you would need in the gym. I myself, I'm only in the gym doing my own personal workouts 2 to 3 times a week. I teach my yoga once a week. I teach my boot camp class once a week. But aside from that, the amount of time that I'm putting in is 2 to 3 hours tops. With it being the new year, some people like to do fitness challenges. A big one last year was 75 Hard, where you've got a whole bunch of rules and restrictions that you try to stick to for 75 days straight. And if you fail any one of those days, you're supposed to start over at the beginning and try it again. Some of the stuff wasn't so crazy, like cutting out alcohol or just taking a progress photo every day, maybe journaling. The one that was kind of crazy was the double workouts every single day. So going from no activity to being required to do a 40-minute outside workout and a 40-minute inside workout, 2 workouts a day, was just absolutely unsustainable. I recently had a friend in my own life who tried this challenge, and she got to day 37 and she failed her program because she had traveled out of state to go see her family, which was multiple hours of a drive. She didn't get there until 10 p.m. and unfortunately hadn't put in a workout yet that day. So fitting in 2 40-minute workouts was physically, in time constraints, impossible. So she felt like she sucked. She felt like she failed. She felt bad because she didn't complete the challenge. But really, it was more setting up for failure, trying to do too much all at once, and it's just not sustainable. So like in this case study, 10 minutes walking a day is absolutely going to be an improvement. You'll see changes, and just working out twice a week, you'd also see changes as well. Recently, I've been rereading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I know is a super popular self-help book out there. But I think with this talk about trying to do too much all at once really hits home the idea that small habits can elicit big changes. So the 10 minutes a day is a small habit. But if you do it consistently over time, every single day, it will compound and it can create a big change over time. If you're saying to yourself, I'm very busy, I'm very tired, there's no way I could fit any of this in my schedule, I have a long commute, I have kids, whatever it may be, I am here to tell you that there are small places where you can fit it in. I do work a full-time 9 to 5. I have a 2-year-old toddler, and I still teach my fitness classes and work on this online content for you guys. So what I do, some examples of how I fit more movement into my life, is when it's at least nice warm weather outside, I take my morning coffee or I take my lunch for a walk. So just instead of sitting down to sip my coffee, taking a walk wherever you have space. Maybe it's around your house, maybe it's around your place of work. I've been actually physically taking my lunch and eating it as I walk around the building, just in order to get those steps in. If you have some activities that you really enjoy that are kind of passive, like watching a particular TV show or keeping up with some news on YouTube, I would encourage you to compound that watch time with a meal prep routine. So if you typically like to spend, 1 to 2 hours catching up on your media on Sundays, try to overlap that with a meal prep. Set up a TV or some sort of screen or even just your phone in the kitchen with you and work on preparing some healthy meals for your lunches ahead of time for the week. And you can still be listening, glancing, getting in that TV time. The third tip that I have, which is more of a healthy habit and less of a movement habit, is trying to pack whole food snacks instead of prepackaged snacks. So yes, they are lower calories, but they're also higher in volume. So you can eat a lot more volume of, say, fresh fruit, beef jerky, in place of a prepackaged snack where you may only be getting a small 30-gram bar, but you're eating 300 to 400 calories. So you get a lot more bang for your buck with whole foods. You just have to find a way to carry them around. So now that you have some tips on how you can incorporate those small changes, like Dr. Lyon suggested, into your routine, the next section that she talks about is challenges in navigating contradictory diet and exercise information. There's so much information out there on the internet. It's always going to be hard to tell which is the good information and which is the bad information, and which information is going to work for you and which information is really not in alignment with your goals. She even calls herself out here in chapter 1, and she asks the question, how do we know that muscle-centric medicine is the right advice? Now, if you didn't watch my last video, muscle-centric medicine is the idea that muscle being hormonally active, very protective, is the biggest marker for health. That if you can build more healthy muscle, you're more likely to survive disease, you're more insulin resistant, it's overall much healthier, and will live a longer, healthier life. So what I like about Dr. Lyon and this book is she's very realistic. Her answer to this question is that in the grand scheme of the universe, this might not be the answer. This might not be the end-all be-all, glory, light at the end of the tunnel, greatest idea for health. But it is the best answer that we have right now with the information that we have right now. According to Dr. Lyon, we have the most amount of science and anecdote to back up the importance of healthy muscle tissue on the body. I really like this philosophy of doing what you can, doing the best that you can with just the information that you have right now, because we're constantly learning, constantly finding out new things about how the human body works, constantly finding new ways to optimize fitness. And so it's just really cool to be reading this kind of on the forefront of this idea of muscle-centric medicine. In order to support her claim about muscle-centric medicine being better than previous ways of thought, she talks about previous advice focusing mostly on cardiovascular health. That overtraining cardio and undereating protein is a recipe for losing muscle mass, and that's the complete opposite of where you want to be in terms of longevity, which is crazy because this whole time we have known that more muscle mass will increase your metabolism. You'll burn more calories at rest, which makes you more efficient, keeps excess sugars and excess fats from building up within the body. So more muscle, faster metabolism is definitely a healthier state of being overall. So what does being healthy overall look like? Well, she talks about two important functions of muscle. The first is an increase in density of mitochondria within your cells. So as you build more muscle, you increase the amount of mitochondria because you're putting more of an energy demand on the body. The more mitochondria within your cells that you have, you will be able to better utilize the nutrients coming into the body through your diet, and you will ultimately achieve higher levels of energy sustained throughout the day. The second thing that she talks about is muscle as body armor or a protection against disease. So muscle is hormonally active, meaning that it plays a role in immune function via peptides that send signals through the body to fight germs and reduce inflammation. So it might have been previously believed that muscle tissue is only there to be moved, contracted, relaxed, but now with new research that she's been doing in her field, they're finding out that it's actually a catalyst for other processes, and it's releasing hormones that can actually help protect you against diseases that may come against you in the future. One disease that healthy muscle tissue is great at combating is what they're calling type 3 diabetes, or too much sugar in the brain. So glucose is a vital nutrient for the brain. You do need it to function for everything in your body to happen, but when you have too much of it in your bloodstream, it becomes toxic to your brain. Put a little fact check in here from my personal training course where they talked about exercise metabolism and how it changes during exercise. So if the goal for you is to be removing excess glucose from your bloodstream to maintain this healthy equilibrium in the blood and the brain, the best thing that you can do is high intensity exercise. So high intensity strength training or high intensity jog, running, whatever high intensity looks like for you, because at that low walking, low impact intensity, the primary source of energy is the fat oxidation process. It isn't until you switch into higher demand on the body that it will then choose to uptake carbohydrates from the blood to use for energy. So what does this mean as related to muscle-centric medicine? Essentially, exercise alone will only uptake so much carbohydrates from the bloodstream. But what Dr. Lyon has found in her research is that muscles, the bigger that they are, actually keep stores of carbohydrates on hand for whenever they need to contract and perform. The more muscle that you have, the more carbohydrates will be sucked out of the bloodstream and then stored in the muscle tissue, ready to be used during exercise. So it's a big vicious cycle. You exercise to pull the carbohydrates out of your bloodstream. They get stored in your muscle tissue. As your muscle tissue heals and grows, you have room to store more. And then when you come back to exercise again, you're going to pull even more carbohydrates out of your bloodstream. This also only works in conjunction with a healthy diet, which is why exercise and diet are always recommended together. You can exercise and build muscle, but you can still be eating too many carbohydrates and saturate the blood. And that's where a lot of these unhealthy blood markers come in that she talked about with her case study at the beginning of the chapter. And the biggest thing about this, the wow factor that I didn't know until I read this book, is that exercising and removing carbohydrates from the bloodstream during exercise happens without insulin. So even if you are in a place where you're insulin insensitive or you're insulin resistant, you can still improve your blood sugar levels by simply just exercising, getting up and moving. Your body will automatically pull that sugar out of your blood to use in the muscles, even without insulin. And I just think that is so cool. It gets better. Insulin is only needed for the storage of excess glucose. So the only time that you need insulin is when your body needs to remove it from the blood without exercise, without the muscle tissue. This gives your pancreas a break from producing insulin and allows your pancreas to recover and become more insulin sensitive. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that this was the actual pathway of how it happened. I always heard that exercise will help you become more insulin sensitive, but as a chemist, I find the biochemical reaction in the body super, super interesting. I love that. It just goes to show that exercising in any capacity is going to benefit you, not only now, but in the long term. Every little bit that you do helps. Even just 10 minutes a day can have a huge impact. This brings me to one of my favorite quotes that I've been hearing lately. And it wasn't something that I heard when I first got into the fitness space. So I'm not sure if it's just a less popular concept or if it's just, it doesn't sell, it doesn't make money. But the quote is, "You cannot out diet no exercise." So for the longest time, I thought of exercise as a way to eat whatever I wanted. As long as I wasn't gaining weight, I was exercising enough to burn it off. But just because you exercise doesn't mean that you're metabolically healthy if your diet is not also in alignment with what your body needs. And mostly is eating in excess. So the insulin issue, the excess fat tissue is always an overconsumption of calories compared to what your body is actually utilizing day to day. The way I want to wrap this video up today is by saying that you are in control of many aspects of your health. I don't want this video to come across as like you're failing, you have to do all these things, you have to make all these changes in order to be healthy, and it's never going to happen. I want this idea that your health is in your hands to be empowering. I know it was for me. When I was sick, when I was eating gluten when I shouldn't have been, I kept fighting back. I never gave up. I knew that the sickness I was feeling, the lack of health that I was experiencing, was something that I could play a part in, that I could change if I worked hard enough. And eventually I figured it out. So I want you to feel empowered, that you can learn things about your health, that you can make changes for the better, that you can be a better version of yourself. That's what my whole channel is about. You might be asking yourself, what can I actually do? What steps should I take to start working on a healthier lifestyle? And I have 3 things for you. The first is to research how to eat a balanced diet at every single meal that has protein, carbohydrate, fats, in optimal levels, whatever optimal looks like for you. So I can't sit here and tell you what specific amounts would be good for you, but I do recommend researching the importance of each macronutrient, protein, carbs, fats, fiber, and making sure you're getting the right amounts of each of those in each of your meals. Number 2 is to dedicate time each week for resistance training. The more I talk about this, the more I've been relating it to teeth brushing. Since I've been brushing my toddler's teeth twice a day, it's not something that you want to do. It's not something that's fun, maybe. I may be a fitness fanatic, but I know that for some people, strength training is just something that you have to do because it's good for you, not because you love it. And that's critical to understand. Just 30 minutes twice a week will give you some huge, huge benefits. And the nice thing about like Amazon having everything at your fingertips, you could just order a pair of dumbbells and start doing this at home. Any muscle contraction that you do, any way that you decide to lift and get moving will be a benefit to you. And then number 3, when you go to your regular checkups or anytime you go visit your doctor, see if they'll do a measurement of your muscle mass, and so that you know where you're at in terms of total lean body mass. There's been a lot of talk recently about measuring body fat percentage as a marker of health instead of just BMI. BMI is a little outdated, not super useful if you are lean. So having your doctor measure your total muscle mass, your lean body mass, can be incredibly helpful. And over time, if you are doing the strength training and you are focusing on a protein forward diet, then hopefully you would see an increase in that number over time, and it will carry you through all kinds of things as you age. And that's really the focus of this book. Forever Strong is the idea that you can maintain healthy muscle mass. You can maintain an active and mobile lifestyle all the way until the very, very end of your life, forever for you, essentially. So I hope you enjoyed what I talked about here today in chapter 1. If you did, like I said, if you did not get a chance to see the intro video for the introduction chapter, I would recommend going back and checking that out as well. If you are looking forward to another chapter, let me know in the comments below if there's anything specific that you want me to incorporate, and hit the subscribe button so that when the next video comes out for chapter 2, you don't miss it. And thank you so much for watching. The fact that you took time out of your day to spend with me here today does mean the world to me. I'll catch you in the next one.